Hi, my name is Cecilia Tanaka, and I'm on the program staff here at Robin Hood. I'm joined by Jeff Walker and Jennifer McCrea, the authors of the Generosity Network. Jeff and Jennifer, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, our pleasure.
My first question is for Jennifer. Fundraising involves a lot of perseverance. There's a lot of rejection. I'm wondering if you could tell us some specific tactics on how to re-engage individuals.
I really don't believe you can be rejected in fundraising. One of my mantras is to always go in standing up, never kneeling down. And so if you believe in what you're doing and you really see money as a vehicle for transformation, it's just impossible to be rejected. So, we believe that if we're raising money for extreme poverty, eradication, say, and the person we're talking to has a passion for the oceans, I'll say that person, go work on the oceans. And by the way, here's 10 people who are doing good work in that space. And so it's not a rejection of me. Mm-hmm. It's a victory for the world. And I also think money is something that we often confuse and infuse with values like scarcity and fear and power and control. And if we reframe how we're looking at money and how we're using money and infusing it with values of courage and commitment and justice and care, it's an absolutely essential vehicle for change.
If you look at it also as transformational as opposed to transactional, and so you could get really burned out if you have to ask somebody over and over again for give me some money to help me. Mm-hmm. Instead, if you can actually approach them as if I've got this really awesome partnership where we're going to change things for the better, you join us. You can bring us something to the table, and when they do that, that act of joining creates a transformational place for them to create partnerships that then can carry on. So then you get energy out of that experience.
In the book, you talk a lot about the Jeffersonian Dinners. Can you explain a little bit more about what these are and how they're an effective tool for fundraising,
Sure.
Jeff?
Jeffersonian Dinners started in Monticello, where I was board chair, and so imagine Thomas Jefferson's dining room at night with candlelit dinner, and Thomas Jefferson eating with all the people you'd love to talk to. Mm-hmm. So instead of talking to the person next to you just about whatever, you talk to the whole table. And imagine the frustration of all of these large fundraisers that you normally go to. It's 1,000-person dinners, and you hear about somebody speaking at you about some topic, some performer, and talking about somebody's dog next to you, and you go home. What a waste of 2.5 hours. And so instead, if you could do what we did at Monticello, and as if you're sitting with Mr. Jefferson at the table, but with other people, talking about something that's important to them, a cause or an issue or a question for a Teach for America, for example, about how do we keep good teachers, and all of a sudden people lean forward and say, how do we join together in that conversation about how to make so that good teachers stay, mm-hmm. so we can bring them to the table. And so we've done these all over the world.
The dinner we did in Africa, for example, we asked everybody there the question of how has HIV personally affected your life? And it was this powerful, you could just feel this invisible web of connection being created where people were not in any way, shape, or form competing. They were feeling this sense of solidarity and commitment. And then the follow-up question was, now what do we do about it? And it starts to guide people to action. And none of us ever want to go to an event or a gathering where we walk away and say, well, that was nice, but what do they want from me? And so these are just super powerful tools to start to get people not only inspired and opened up and understanding and asking deeper questions, but actually moving toward action.
And each person typically starts coming out with what they can do individually mm-hmm. to help work on the cause or to partner with the teams. Might be technology assistance, marketing assistance, some other network connection, but also they realize they can have an impact too.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit more about boards. We see at Robin Hood oftentimes boards can be a really underutilized resource.
So an engaged board is really critical, right? And I actually find that engaged board chair and the board executive director is a really important relationship.
Sure.
And if that works well, then the rest of the board sees a model for that. Mm-hmm. So it's not always hiring new or bringing in new board members. It's sometimes re-engaging board members that are already there. Mm-hmm. And so you look at them and say, what else can we do to make it so that you are even more passionate about what we're talking about? Maybe you expose them to other people in the organization. Maybe you bring them to where you're providing service.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, I talk to executive directors all the time, and they often will tell me one of their biggest challenges is their boards. And often when I talk to boards, they often say, well, I'm underutilized or I'm underengaged. And so when I teach and do board workshops, the first thing I'll say to people is, you know, how many more resources are in this room that could be engaged? You can see people looking around saying there's so much more I can do. And there's so much deeper we can go. And so I think one of our challenges as leaders in this sector is how do we give our board members opportunities to go much deeper? And some of the things that Jeff was just saying is a great example.
Thank you both so much for being with us today.
Yeah,
Thank
our
you.
pleasure.
Thank
Thanks.
you.